That's so funny. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Hub Live. My name is Elize Hattin. I am Rockhampton Regional Council Smart Hub Business Manager. As you can see on the logo behind me, we're coming live from the Smart Hub. Some of our panelists today are at the Smart Hub and some are not. And so I'm very excited about sharing my Zoom screen with 5 incredible people today. And they all run different kinds of businesses in different industries. And what we thought we might do is to share a bit of not only who's at the Smart Hub and what they're up to, but also for ask them to share some of their secrets and lessons with you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop those in the chat. That would be amazing, and we'll get our panelists to ask those questions. So to start with, I'm going to introduce everyone. Well, I might ask you to introduce yourself. So I'm just going to call out your name, panelist, and then tell us a little bit about yourself and give us your pitch, your 30-second pitch. So I'm going to start with Deb Mead, straight in the center of my screen. How are you, Deb?
Good, thanks, Elize. Thanks for that. My name's Deborah Mead. I'm the business lead for NBN Local, and my role is to help businesses with their connectivity across the Wide Bay and Central Queensland region.
Excellent. So Deb is obviously with NBN and one of our corporate members. Wonderful to have you. Thank you, Deborah. Hello, Mr. Ben Kennedy. How are you?
G'day, Elize. Great to see you. My name's Ben. I'm a 22-year-old founder of Gecko, and Gecko is a marketplace to hire event items easily and securely.
Oh, nice. And Ben really is a budding entrepreneur. How old are you, Ben? If I think it's illegal for me to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway. I'm not hiring you, so that's good.
Just turned 22.
Awesome. And how long have you been in this game of entrepreneurship?
Well, I thought of the idea when I was 18, but I actually didn't really know what a startup was at the time. So I just thought it was like a small business because that's what both my parents did. So I guess you could say, around 18, 19.
Oh, very awesome. Excellent. Mr. Phil Martin, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Tell us about Bitplex.
My name's Phil. I am not 22, and I started Bitplex in 2014. Bitplex is a software consulting company primarily, and we help find or build the exact right tools for you and your business, connecting existing systems like your timesheets and invoicing, or building mobile apps to launch your next great idea. And we take away all the pain of hiring and finding technical people and working within your business.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Phil. And Phil is an example of a small business of which we have quite a few small business members in the Smart Hub. But Phil works obviously in the technology industry, but we have small business owners across many industries in the Smart Hub, which brings me to you, Tanya Rutherford.
Which helps if I can unmute myself in time.
That's always a good start. That's an excellent place to start.
So yes, I'm Tanya. I also work out of the Smart Hub in the physical space of the Smart Hub as well. I've actually worked in a wide variety of industries, both here and in the UK, and I have a background in accounting, business management, professional development, and most recently I've been working in the student development space for the university sector, which has led to my business, which is Learn, Grow, Become. And that's where we essentially teach students how to learn, because nowhere do we ever get taught how to learn in life. It's always assumed. So we partner predominantly with universities and deliver to their students, focusing mostly on disadvantaged and at-risk students to make sure that they can become effective and successful learners. We also are currently working on an Indigenised version of our Learn to Learn program, so that make sure that we are providing the right support in the best way possible for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students.
Excellent. And so Tanya, we'll get back to you and ask a bit more about your story, but really you are what we would term a micro business, a small business that hasn't started too long ago, and we'll get back to that. And then lucky last is Mr. Matthew Doyle. How are you, Matthew?
I am living the dream, as always.
There you go. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so right now, today I'm wearing my Type 1 Technologies hat. So I'm building Diabetes Dashboard, which is an all-in-one diabetes management center. And we've got a mission to maximize access to and quality of care, management and education for diabetes right around the world. So This is a platform that goes from the person with diabetes, their caregivers, guardians, care networks, through their medical professional team, schools, everyone in between. It puts everything you need to manage diabetes, apart from actually pricking your finger or giving yourself an insulin jab, all in one place. And the best way I can summarize it is saying that we are building the online platform through which the world will manage diabetes going forward.
That's brilliant. Now let's get into telling your story, Matthew. While you've just kind of gotten into diabetes dashboard, tell us a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur. How did you decide to do this? You are an example of a startup and what that means. So a technical business, really, who has a global market and is highly scalable. Tell us a bit of your story and tell us a bit more about the background.
Yeah, so funnily enough, when I come into the Smart Hub, I like to beat the drum that I was one of the foundation members in the Smart Hub. Phil introduced me as one of the early ones.
Phil and Matthew, really, you guys were the foundation members, yes.
In the very early days, but interestingly, I wouldn't have had what you would call a startup. I was starting a consultancy business effectively. So, but if I go right back, I'd say I was a lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 15, and I was up to number 2 by the time I left school. And I've just always had an interest in business and self-employment and all of those kind of things. I've always been a student of business, even when I work what I would term a real job, as if running your own business isn't, but an actual paid employment sort of role. I always had that outside interest in business as well. And then so in 2016, I just found myself in a place. I'd finished my previous paid employment, and sort of, rather than worry about finding a job or anything like that, so take the skills I've got. I always enjoy being in business. Let's go and create my own job. Let's start a business doing that. And so I started what was a consultancy that didn't really know who or what it wanted to be and who it wanted to help and what it wanted to do. And that morphed into a not-for-profit coaching business that morphed into an NDIS focused coaching business that sort of really hit the sweet spot, which took me a couple of years to find that space. But and then in 2018, my oldest boy, who was at the time 3, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that's for anybody that's been on that journey, it's a pretty wild ride, so to speak. But we got to the beginning of kindy, or just before he started kindy in 2019, and just with the abundance, the amount of information we were trying to share and setting up how we were going to manage it at school and working with his kindy team, I sat down and I put together what was now the beginnings of Diabetes Dashboard. Back then it was just something I slapped together on a Saturday afternoon, but it was a personalized website that shared information, sort of up-to-date action plans for the school, some educational resources for them so they could help learn, everything from a YouTube video on how to use the BG meter to some actual, background diabetes education. It was a really, what I'd say, cheap and nasty little website built on the back of my my sales funnel platform at the time. But when I sent it off to my diabetes educator, and I just said, can you look at this and tell me if anything's wrong? Like, have I just given them any bad information here? And she came back and said, I wish all of my clients were doing this or using this. And that the light bulb went on at that point. And so from there, I sort of went, a little while later, well, we could commercialize this. And honestly, my thinking in the beginning was, well, Levi will be 21 one day and then he'll run out of funding. If we can commercialize this, that can be the slush fund he's going to need to pay for all that stuff he's not going to be funded for anymore. And then I pretty quickly realized, now if we do this right, we can help an awful lot more people than just my own son. And so now that is kind of, in a really quick span of time, gone from this cheap little website to now building this all-in-one management platform. And it started, and in that last couple of months, there was this sudden change from being a coach that was doing this on the side to this has become the business, and my number one business has really faded into that side challenge.
Yeah, I think please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Smart Hub was kind of central to you being able to make those leaps and being able to see all the opportunity. And then when Levi got diagnosed, it was just like everything came together, and then here we go, here's the Diabetes Dashboard. Would that be true?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you have just those conversations over coffee with people who go, that sort of spur you on and encourage you, but also you get those questions about where it might not work. So you get those both sides of the coin. But at the end of the day, it was probably a conversation with you that even what I might term as gave me permission to go for it, because I was concerned that somebody else was building something similar and I didn't want to get in and cut their grass, so to speak. I was worried about sort of stuff. And so even in that, had I not been in the Smart Hub, I probably never would have pulled the trigger to even go down the path at all.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So as I said, you are an example of one of our startups, and a startup really isn't a new business. A startup is a high growth company. And because it's high growth, you need two things. You need lots of people as customers. So it typically has an international market. And secondly, you need a scalable business model, which typically technology enables that very well. And so that's what a startup is a high growth company, typically technology with an international market. But what we have in the Smart Hub and what makes it so special is the fact that we have all these different kinds of businesses and all these different kinds of entrepreneurs, which takes me to you, Phil, because you are our other foundational member. You were here really from day one. I think you were number one, our very first member. Tell us a little bit about what drove you to start a business, because you weren't always an entrepreneur, were you?
No. What drove me to start BitPlex was an opportunity with my employer at the time. I was working for an engineering company primarily focused in the coal industry. They're based out of Gladstone, and I was working for them full time as an internal software developer. And coal was going through a really tough time, and shedding staff. And I proposed to them that, hey, why don't you just put me on part time? At least that way you get some value, and I'm not a massive cost center that you have to fire me entirely. It took them a while to convince them that was a good plan, but they went for it, much to my delight. And so that's when I became a contractor, started my company. And that's also when I reached out to people in my network and said, oh, hey, I'm now free to work on other things. Anyone interested? And that's also when I started GamePlan, my project management tool. It started as a startup, and it's maturing and having international customers as well now.
So excellent. And I know that your team is growing and you're expanding across Australia, and you're definitely on one of our big success stories. So hats off to you and good job. It's so exciting when you take something that you think you can do and you start, and it's just you, and then it's you and someone else. And after a while, you have a couple of offices, and you're not just in Rocky anymore, and you have an expanding team. Brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, I do pinch myself every now and then to go from just myself working from home to having an office at the Smart Hub. And we've got 8 staff now, 4 in Rocky, 4 across Australia. And yeah, hopefully going to launch a HR related product later this year. So it's a great place to be in, and super grateful for the Smart Hub.
That's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Ben, tell us more about your story. So you just said that you grew up in a home with 2 entrepreneurial parents in a small business, and then you didn't know what a startup was, and the next thing you're doing startup.
Yeah, no, it was quite funny. I'd done a lot of research because I sort of realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was about 16, because I was doing business studies. I was really, really interested in it. But I guess how New South Wales curriculum sort of works is that it's just like you just have to revise the syllabus and just know the syllabus like the back of your hand, and you're not really going in and doing anything. But nevertheless, I knew that I really wanted to start my own business.
Thank you for that plug for the education system.
Yeah, sorry. But
That's good.
But yeah, so I was sort of like, okay, let's try and think of something that I might be able to do. So I did a lot of research into, marketing and whatnot. And I learned about sort of like, unique selling propositions and how like a really good business needs to have a really great point of differentiation. And then I guess I stumbled across this problem where, I went over to Falls Festival up in Byron, and we ended up having to buy tents, buy chairs, buy tables, all these I guess different items, and that we could have just hired out, and it would have cost us way less. It probably would have been a little bit more convenient as well. So I was sort of thinking about this for a little while, and I did a bit of research, and I remember on the exact day when I decided, I think it was the 4th of April 2018, where I was like, okay, this is actually something that I really, really want to do. So I ended up buying the ABN, and I was so excited. But the one thing I noticed was every time I was at work, or every time I was at uni even, like all I would think about is just this new thing that I'm building, this new idea that could sort of flourish and whatnot. That was so exciting, and it just made work like even more grim, and uni even more grim, because like I'd get an email about Gecko, and I'd just be straight away like just thinking about like, like how I'm going to respond to this email. And you know, someone was like, and I remember I went into my boss, he does some angel investing, he dabbles in a bit of angel investing, and he was like, oh great, that's really awesome, like you're doing this startup thing, do you mind sending me over a pitch deck? And I was like, yeah, no worries. And then I go back and I'm like, oh, what's a pitch deck? Oh. So I had to like look one up, and I ended up finding, yeah, I guess whatever came out there, and ended up sending it to him. And he's like, yeah, that's great, well done. I'm like, ah, cool, okay, you got the right link. How lucky was that? So then, yeah, and then I guess fast forward to today, and we've been trading actually since we joined the startup. I think we launched, I think it was the second week that we joined the startup, when we were in the Turbo Traction Lab. And yeah, we've just been growing heaps, which has been so exciting. Going from, yeah, just you know, going through the motions, and yeah, no, it's been so much fun.
So I want to highlight a couple of things that you said. The first thing is, you mentioned that you're in New South Wales, and that's exactly right. You're based in Sydney, but you're still a Smart Hub member. And the way in which you became a Smart Hub member is you participated in our Turbo Traction Lab, which was the Smart Hub's accelerator that we ran for 18 months, basically, that ended in mid-year last year. And you remaining a member, and you come to our events virtually, which is really awesome. You did a pitch the other day at our Rockhampton Angel investment group via Zoom, and that went really, really well. And so our network is really beyond Rocky, which is fantastic for what we call an innovation ecosystem. To attract people nationally is really wonderful. And you're one of many of the members who do not live in Rocky and who are one of our virtual members. So it's great to have you along. Thank you, Ben. And I know that you will be one of our success stories too. So really, everyone on the screen is poised for fantastic success. Tell me more about what you did, Tanya, because you too were part of the Turbo Traction Lab. So when did you decide to go into business? And you became a member quite early on of the Smart Hub too.
Remember, I was in the old building.
Yeah, with the office and the corridor, and yes,
my own office.
Those were the days.
Yeah, for me, and this kind of came back to before I knew about the Smart Hub. When I was actually working at university, I was studying at university, and I came up with the concept that I had for my Learn to Learn program, which is what we run through Learn, Grow, Become. And it was talking with Elize, and Elize going, that, you know, that is a great business model. That is, you know, something that's really needed. Why don't you come and join the Smart Hub? And I'm like, okay, sure, that sounds a great idea. Yay. And then having the opportunities that came through that. And part of that was meeting the different community members. So particularly at the time, it was Phil, it was Matt, you know, it was so different coming from various work environments where you are all assumedly working towards the same thing, but it's amazing how competitive people are and how they don't necessarily support their teammates in the outcomes that you're trying to get. Whereas in the collaborative space of the Smart Hub, even though we've all got our own businesses, we've all got our own different priorities, everyone is so incredibly generous with their time. They're so welcoming. It was such a great space to be, particularly as an early business, because whilst I'd done a lot of, you know, online training about, you know, how businesses run and what you need to do and how you set up a website and all those sorts of things, it wasn't until I started interacting with fellow business people and also doing, of course, the Turbo Traction Lab, which was amazing, that those concepts actually started to make sense, and I could actually see how my business actually could fit into those concepts and how I could. I think the key thing to think about when you're looking at those things is that there's all this information out there about, you know, how you can do it, you know, the 5 steps, the best way, all this, and you kind of need to take all that and sift through it and work out how that's going to fit with you, particularly as a micro business. So my business is essentially who I am. That's an extension of myself. And so how I need to run my business is in integrity with my values and my vision. It's not just okay, we go out and we tell everyone that, you know, they've got this problem and they need to fix it by coming and seeing me. That's not that's not in integrity with who I am. So very much taking all that information that's available and reframing it in a way that's actually going to work for you and your business. For example, some of my early sales calls were like so painful because it was going through a process that was not me. And once I started bringing myself to the conversation, people were interested because we see through things. And it's really making sure that, you know, when you are in business, that you are not just doing what everyone else has done, but doing it your way. And the benefit of somewhere like the Smart Hub is that everyone is doing it in a different way. So it's not like you have the pressure of, well, if you're here, you have to do it this way. And if you're not doing it this way, then you better leave because you're not, this isn't how we work, which is often how you get in really big corporations, you know, our way or the highway. This has just been such a great way of just trialing things and experimenting and understanding what is possible.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Now, let me quickly welcome Gail, Alicia, Brad. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can tell, we're here with 5 of the Smart Hub members. We actually have 100 members at the moment, and we've just selected 5 to give you a bit of a taste of who's here, what are people working on, what do they find beneficial in the Smart Hub, and then most importantly, to share some of their tricks and some of their secrets for success, because everyone on the screen has been successful and is poised for quite phenomenal success. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions for anyone, just pop that into the chat on Facebook and we'll be sure to answer those questions. I just want to quickly say something about sales, Tanya, which is what you alluded to just before. Interestingly, I had a really good conversation with one of our members about sales, and he was asking whether we have any sales scripts at the Smart Hub that he could leverage from to, you know, do some cold calling. And in talking that through with him, what I kind of helped him realize, and the realization that I had as well, was that no, we don't have any sales scripts. But what we do have is we have a really great process that you can follow, where you can show up as yourself and you can actually listen to what the other person is saying, and therefore build some real rapport, and therefore really understand what the other person needs, and therefore really position your services or your product to help other people. Because we at the Smart Hub really do believe that entrepreneurs are solving problems in the world and making the world better in that way. And so how good is that? So no scripts, no like wishy-washy things. We want to make a difference and we want to do it right. So it's excellent. Now, Deb, tell us about you, because you are one of our newest members. Work for the NBN, one of our corporate members, of which we have quite a few corporate members. It's very exciting for me to have the corporates involved. That's really when innovation happens, when you have a corporate member and you have a startup and you get together over coffee or lunch, or, you know, just meet in wherever and say, oh, we have this problem, or we're working on this, and then just innovation happens in that conversation. So tell us about the NBN and tell us a little bit about the Smart Hub and how you got involved.
So the NBN is the National Broadband Network. So we have just recently completed our infrastructure build across Australia, and now we're looking at how we can lift the digital capability of Australians, but more importantly for this conversation, Australian businesses. And I have to say, it's just so inspiring to hear the stories of all the entrepreneurs that have spoken today. And that's exactly, you know, what we're trying to help and support. So whether you've got a digital platform where connectivity is key, or a business that is engaging with their customers through digital connectivity, it's very much an integral part of every business's day-to-day dealings. So one of the focuses NBN has at the moment is our business fibre initiative. So we've actually announced a business fibre zone in 240 locations across Australia. 85 of them are in regional locations in regional Australia. And you'll be pleased to know, Elize, Rockhampton is one of those business fibre zones. We did not miss out on Rockhampton. And what we're offering as part of the business fibre zone is CBD pricing in regional Australia. So we're offering that at a as a wholesaler to our internet providers. And the other exciting thing is our enterprise Ethernet solution. So it's a business grade fiber solution. So for those businesses that rely very heavily on connectivity, it's certainly something to look for. And we're offering it to our internet providers at a zero upfront build cost. So you can get it at no cost to your business, but you just have to sign up for 36 months to your provider. And what Business Enterprise offers is reliability. We've got up to 1 gigabyte per second symmetrical upload download, and we've got a service level agreement so that we'll turn around and get your business back on track as soon as possible. So there's some of the key things that we've heard from businesses as an essential, and that's what we're offering with our enterprise Ethernet solution. And so that's my job. I'm getting out there to talk to people and raise awareness of those types of things, so you know how to get connected, what technology is going to best suit you, and how to optimize your current technology or current connection.
That's awesome. So talking about getting connected, I think that's another really big benefit of being in this space and being in this membership and being part of this community, is because you can get connected to people. I know that that's not what you're referring to specifically. We're talking about get connected to the internet, but I had to launch off that word. And so if you want to get connected with Deb and know more about all of those services that she just mentioned, please feel free to send us a message, to send us an email, and we'll definitely do an introduction. Is that okay, Deb?
That is perfect.
To contact you.
Very much so. And I have the Wide Bay in Central Queensland as part of my region. So I'm very much looking forward to having the hub as my local meeting place for when I'm up in Rocky. So if anyone does want to reach out, more than happy to connect with them.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now we're getting to the place where I think we should start to share some of the secrets and tips, and from the perspective of, you know, whether you are a small business, whether you're a startup, whether you're a budding entrepreneur in a startup, whether you're corporate, whether you're micro, what are the things that have helped you be successful? And maybe if you wanted to mention how the Smart Hub was beneficial, you could as well, but please don't feel any obligation to do that. But yeah, so share with us the tips and tricks that will help other people, if they're in your situation, move their businesses forward. So I will go to Mr. Ben Kennedy first. You look surprised, Ben.
Well, I think one key thing that I would say in my learnings, I did have one benefit, being that I started very young, so I was sort of learning everything fresh, and I didn't have to unlearn sort of bad things. But I think one of the most important things just in business in general is know what you don't know. And as soon as you know what you don't know, it's a lot easier to find the solution to whatever I guess you need to do. So one thing I did at the very beginning when I first started my entrepreneurial journey is I'd make, I guess, like a rule where I'd have to speak to, you know, one person a week that would be able to try and help me on I guess my path and to learn more. And one thing I realized is the more and more people that I would speak to, the more that everything was sort of the same. It's sort of like, I don't know, like a Gary V podcast, like everything that he says is like the same as the last one. But, you know, sometimes it just takes one person to say it in like one certain way that it'll actually, you know, come through. So that's definitely one thing that I encourage anyone to do as well. Get yourself out there as well. I remember at the very beginning, I only told like my close friends about my startup. I was like, oh, I hope no one, you know, goes and takes this idea, which is just so silly. Like no one's got the time for it, to be completely honest. So yeah, like I mean, in saying that, like it has happened, like, you know, a couple times or what have you, but it's so rare. And that's one thing that I've been big on, is just getting yourself out there, be like super transparent with where you're at, and just enjoy the journey, because that's the whole reason we do what we do, you know what I mean? Like I remember when I was an accountant, I'd look up at the ceiling and be like, should I chuck a sickie today or what? Like, whereas, I wake up to go to work at Gecko, I'm just so stoked, like I can't get in quickly enough. So yeah, no, I guess that's my little bits of advice.
Okay, so I just have one question. I really like what you said, talk to one person, and I think that's key. The more people you talk to, the more interesting thoughts you find, the more you learn what you don't know, and also people that you need to talk to are your customers. But I know that what you were referring to is talk to other business people, talk to mentors, talk to other people in your industry, so that, or in other industries. What are the questions, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 questions that you typically would ask someone to get that conversation started?
Yeah, that's really good. I think one thing that's really important, just first things first, just got to do your research on like who they are, because a lot of the time, particularly in the early days, you get like, for me personally, I sometimes try and give back and whatnot. And one thing I've noticed that when I do speak to some people, it's just they're not 100% prepared, like, and you need to, I guess, know who you're speaking to and what they're very, very good at. For example, if someone is, an absolute professional at SEO, don't ask them about like tech questions. You know what I mean? Like, just know who you're speaking to for certain things. Like, for example, one person who I absolutely love to come and speak to for growth hacking is our very own Daniel Johnson. You know what I mean? And he is, for growth hacking, absolutely, like I love, and it's the same thing with, I've got another mentor, Karim. Now, would I ask, I guess, Karim questions about tech stuff and I guess, product management? Probably not. So I think that's one thing that's really important. And most of the things of all, like, you're trying to solve your problems. Like, that's, I guess, why they're there. They're trying to provide some clarity to you. So pretty much just for me, I would just say, like, hey, here are the problems that I'm currently having, and we would try and sort of work together on how we might be able to problem solve that. So I guess that's I guess my 2 cents on it.
Okay, so 2 things: do your research, know who you're talking to, and ask relevant questions to that person's experience. And secondly, be very clear on the problem that you're having, so you can say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or here's my challenge, or here's my problem, and then get feedback from them and maybe problem solve together.
Yeah.
Awesome, love it. Okay, excellent. Matthew, tell us a little bit about the secrets or the tactics, the information that you would share with other people, either, well, let's to the startup, but also even in small business. What would you say?
Yeah, so I think I'd flow on a little bit from what Ben was saying, and saying one of the big things I would always say is ask for help, or ask people things, like have those conversations, whether it's just someone in the hallway or that kind of thing. So if you go back to Diabetes Dashboard in the really early days, I was thinking, all right, this is cool, we're going to go with this, but I don't come from a tech background. So I was, in my brain was like, okay, I'm going to have to pay somebody to build this. And it's like, all right, where am I going to get the money to pay somebody to build this? And so, I was going down the crowdfunding route, going, all right, I'm going to have to try and crowdfund as much money as I can up front to try and to actually build the platform. And it was in a conversation with Michael Norton, who I'd met through the Smart Hub as well, that I was asking him about crowdfunding, because and he said, well, why don't you try this no code stuff, build something, put it out there, sell it, and then go from there. And it was only because I asked him about crowdfunding that came about. And then, that conversation then flowed on to me asking Phil, would this work? And then asking Daniel different stuff. And it was because those conversations happened that we've been able to get to where we are now. And even just recently emailing Phil saying, hey, Phil, can you have a look at how I'm building this and give me an estimate of what it's going to cost me to run? Again, having not run a tech business before, I want to make sure that, because we've been, is my pricing right? And all those kind of things. Am I going to build this and then go broke because I've got the pricing wrong and got a huge bill for the back end? So, and if you're speaking specifically into the tech space, because it's where I've spent a lot of time, and you spend a lot of people who are then in these no-code development spaces. One of the big things I'd say, if you're going to go down the tech space, so if you've got an app idea or something like that, you've got to build a business, not just an app, because there's so many people that I've got this great idea for this new project management tool, or this app that does this, or the app that does, you go, okay, how are you going to sell it? Who's your customer? And there's no business around it at all. So, I could build the greatest diabetes management platform that I like, that's really shiny, but if I don't have a pricing model around it, if I don't have a marketing strategy around it, if I don't have a strategy, if I don't build a business around that product, I've got nothing really. So we've got to build the business, not just
hobby then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it will get real expensive real fast.
Yeah, really quickly.
in time and money. But yeah, so build the business, not just out. And, you know, again, in that thing and spreading into the more broader small business as well as that is actually knowing who that customer is. Like, what are you actually doing? What are their problems? And how are you solving them for them? In that coaching practice in the NDIS, so often we have this conversation where I say, okay, who is your customer? What are you trying to achieve? And the answer is just, oh, everyone. Yeah, everybody that's got access to the NDIS. Like, you know, if we keep going down this path, it's not going to work. You know, you've got to know who you serve, what problems do they have, what aspirations do they have, how do you solve the problem, how do you meet their aspirations, and then we can go from there. But so yeah, if you don't know who that customer is, you're going to be in big trouble. And you know, it's the whole trying to help everybody, and you end up helping nobody. So you know, with Diabetes Dashboard, that's an interesting challenge because we have different customer sets. You know, how we speak to somebody who's got diabetes, to how we speak to a guardian of somebody with diabetes, to how we speak to an educator or a health professional, to how we speak to a school that we want to use the schools portal on the platform. They're all different conversations. They're all different customers. So yeah, knowing who they are and how to approach them. If I approach a doctor the same way I approach a father like myself, it's not going to fly. So yeah, so they're probably the big ones. And the last thing I'd say is, you know, get started and just start and put something out there. It's never going to be perfect. We all get bogged down. I want it to be perfect before I push it. Otherwise, people might not like it. But just get started, get something out there, and you can make it perfect on the run.
Love it. Do you want to add anything about the Smart Hub? What have you found most beneficial of being here?
Yeah, so there's two things I'd say about the Smart Hub that are the beneficial. One is the community. That's all the big one. That's some of the best value I've got in the Smart Hub. You know, conversations in the hallway. You know, we're always just bouncing things off each other, cheering each other on. You know, if you're having a rubbish day, there's usually someone around just to go, how you going, and commiserate with you on that. But yeah, it's just that real community that that I think is, you know, you can't match it. And then, you know, the mentoring as well. So obviously you and I spend a lot of time together. The amount of value that comes from that, I will often say that, you know, that what I pay to be a member of the Smart Hub comes back way more just in those mentoring sessions alone. And then we get to the community on top of that. They're the really two big things. Yeah, that's probably what I'd add.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And I think the community bit is really important. And what you mentioned about Phil, I know so many people reach out to Phil and like, hey Phil, can you check this? And hey Phil, can you check that? And Phil is definitely one of the most generous people I know, for sure, by far. Phil, tell me a little bit about your secrets and or lessons or processes that you've learned that you can share. Like, what should you do and what should you not do if you want to go into business? And also tell me a little bit about your experience in the Smart Hub.
I don't have any secrets. I have too many lessons, unfortunately, but they're helpful ones. Probably the biggest one of the one that came to mind when I was asked the question is get paid. It sounds like a really silly thing to focus on because of course you're going to get paid, you're running a business. But in the first few years, I had a real struggle with placing value on my time and my skills. And I would be late sending out invoices because I was scared to, is what it boiled down to. And I was afraid that the work I was doing wasn't good enough. And what that did is it severely limited the cash flow of my business, and it reduced the perceived value that my customers had of me. And there was a real imbalance in the relationships that I had with my customers. And so, yeah, if you're having trouble convincing yourself to send that invoice, or you think your rates are too high and you're discounting frequently, yeah, reconsider and start seeing what your competitors charge and charge appropriately for skills and time, because what you're offering and selling has value. Otherwise, your customers wouldn't be engaging with you.
100%. Absolutely. Brilliant lesson. What else? Oh, can I just quickly say, hey, Alison, thank you so much for joining us. Pop your question in the comments. We'll get the panelists to answer them for you. What else, Mr. Phil Martin?
Fixing that is hard. And if that takes too long, which it was taking me a long time to fix that, is I fixed it by hiring someone who loves doing that. My general manager loves charging people, loves selling, loves providing good value, and he really helped me along that process. In terms of The other big thing that's really helped me is get a good coach, is have someone who's independent of your business that can help you set weekly measurable goals that you can strive for and keep you accountable. They're the most challenging conversations you'll have, but they're the most valuable ones. And I could not recommend it highly enough. To keep your business moving forward, you need someone to help you point it in the right direction and not get bogged down in the detail and the things that don't matter. And the Smart Hub has helped me significantly in that, providing coaching. And the Smart Hub was instrumental in growing my business from just a one-person company to 4 and 5 and beyond, because without that, I wouldn't have had the resources to have an office, have space, and have interactions with other people. It's been a really valuable experience.
Excellent. Hey, Mr. Simon, thank you so much for joining us. Simon says, Phil, that is a really good comment regarding payments. Yes, if you're in business, you need to get paid. And if you have problems sending out those invoices, Phil just gave a fantastic solution. Hire someone who loves sending out invoices and who loves sales, because they will help you. They'll help you overcome that problem. There are also other things that you can do. And if you have that problem, reach out to us at the Smart Hub and we can help you for sure. Do you have anything else to add, Phil?
Yes, there's many, but this is a big one that my business struggled with a couple of times, is if you're delivering on a fixed quote, like if you provided a quote to a customer and it's at a fixed price, and the project that you're delivering on could spend multiple weeks or months or however long your time frame is, keep a really, really, really tight look on your costs and your outgoings, because you only have a fixed budget to work with. If you take your eye off that and just let it go, then you can get in big trouble and you can easily spend more than you're going to bring in, which I've done a couple of times. And I strongly recommend not doing that, because it really hurts your cash flow.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
No, it's not.
Better if you make a profit.
Yes, because that way you have a job and your staff have a job, and that's much better than not.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. Just on the vein of profit, I think I'll share a couple of things that I might have shared on these live streams before, but here's the thing about profit. Number one, if you're in business, you have an obligation towards yourself and your business to make a profit. Because if you're not making a profit, your business, I mean, it's obvious if you're making a huge loss that you won't be able to move forward. But here's what most people don't realize. If you make a profit of 5% or less, your business is essentially on life support and its viability isn't great. And so you have an obligation and a responsibility as a business owner to ensure that your profitability is around 10% or higher than 10%. That's when you know that you're doing a really, really good job. And so keep a tight handle on the finances. And often people start a business and the financial management of it is less important, boring, and we just outsource that to our accountants. You can easily watch last week or a couple of weeks ago's HubLive, where we spoke about this, questions to ask your accountants and what they do and what you should do. But ultimately, as a business owner, it is your responsibility to ensure that you're across your finances, your figures, and also that your business is making a profit. Thank you so much for sharing, Phil. That is excellent. Deb, we'll go to you. What lessons do you have to share?
I think because I'm new to NBN, I've been there for a couple of months and we're scaling quite rapidly in NBN Local. So we've gone from 7 staff and we're getting up to 70 staff. So one of the key messages that we keep getting is replicability. So we're doing something great, how can we replicate it in other states or other locations? And sometimes it is about the paperwork, so it's about documenting what you're doing. So when we're on a winning formula, we can replicate it. So I do think that's sort of a general lesson most people can have, is that making sure that you do document it. So I do think that that is a key one. And because we are scaling within our team, it is about communication. So we're using Microsoft Teams a lot, but it is a great way to stay connected and you can get it done quite quickly and everyone's on the same message. One of the really nifty things though that NBN broadly has done as a corporate is we've got a thing called coffee roulette. So you opt in to say, yes, I'm happy to talk to someone. They match you up with someone across any of the business units and then you have a half an hour chat and a coffee. And I find that really good. Cool. Yeah, and it was great because you meet someone and then you have a contact in that business unit. So for me, I went, oh, that's awesome, and a really great way to do that. And we can also do it with our general manager. So you can opt in to have a coffee with the general manager if you get selected. So I really like that idea, and it's something that I went, we should have done this in some of the other organisations I worked for, just to meet and have that instant connection with someone in another group or business unit that you might need going forward. So I found that really helpful.
I really love that idea. Would you mind if we replicate that idea at the Smart Hub? I can see that coffee roulette idea with our members, where you just get instantly matched with someone. So what happens? What's the process? So you get an email, or who does the matching?
Yeah, so I didn't do that, and I can certainly work out the mechanics of it, but you sort of put your name in and then they just match you up, a bit like a Secret Santa, but you're having a chat, not a present, I guess. And then you get given the name of the person, and then it's up to you and your diaries as to when you can do that. And obviously, you know, the contact I had was in Sydney, so it was just a virtual coffee catch up, which certainly suits your membership too if you've got people all over the country. So yeah, it was a really great idea. So someone from an administrative point of view just has to, you know, probably do it old school, names in a hat, or I'm sure there's apps out there that can match names.
There are definitely apps for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, but no, I thought that was a really great idea and a very social way of just meeting some of your colleagues you might never come across.
That's excellent. Is there anything else that you want to share? I know you have such a long, fantastic career. Is there anything else that you want to share around your career or any other lessons?
I think for me, this is just my recent experience of being very comfortable in a position and having been in it for a very long time, is to back yourself and take the risk, because you'll never grow, and you'll never realize your exciting chapter or next chapter if you don't take that risk, which I think is just very, very timely with all of the panelists as well. They're certainly taking their risk in their entrepreneurial leap, so I think it's a credit to them that they've been able to do that, and very inspiring from where I'm sitting at.
Excellent. Tanya, tell us a little bit about your lessons. Share.
Okay, so I've got a couple of things that I've learned, particularly over the last year or two, that I wanted to share. The first one is around growing your business. So I know there's often an assumption that as you start, that you are going to want to get bigger and bigger and take on people and everything else. And that may not necessarily be what you want to do or how you want to operate. So growing your business is great, particularly from expanding your impact, expanding your income. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become a really big business with thousands of employees. And so that comes back really to scalable, the structure of your business and what you're actually selling. So for me, and I know I've spoken to Phil about this before, is I don't have aspirations of hiring lots of people. I've done a lot of management. I'm a chartered manager, but my focus is on getting it out as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So transforming as many students' lives without having to worry about managing a lot of people. So when you're thinking about, growing your business and anything else to do with your business, is thinking about what it's going to look like for you and what feels best for you, as opposed to what everyone else is doing or what you're reading or seeing. The second one is, depending on what your business is and what you are selling, is remembering that you don't have to sell to everyone, and you don't have to sell to everyone who wants to buy it, whatever it is. And by that I mean is, if your customer isn't a good fit for your product and you don't think that they will get the outcome because they're not committed to what it is that you're selling, it's okay to say no. And I know when I've done coaching before, part of that is an initial discovery call, and you're sort of saying, am I right for you? Are you right for me? And it can be that same thing in anything else that you're doing. So with my business, for example, because I'm working with universities that are huge and they have a lot of internal challenges to get things happening, is if I don't have someone who is really committed to the outcome, it's probably not going to work, because it'll get too hard and they go, oh, look, it's just not for us. So I want to make sure that the people really believe in what we're trying to achieve, and it matches up with their students and what they're trying to achieve as well. And part of that for me is that I actually get them to go through a pilot program first. So they might want to roll out our Learn to Learn program to all their students, which would be fantastic, obviously, because it's a great program. But if we do it as a small pilot first, they get to understand what the program is. We get to set it up right without the rush, and we get to make sure that it is actually having the impact that they need to get that full investment from across the university or other education provider. So just, you know, thinking about how that works for you and who you want to work with. I mean, we don't have to be Woolies where someone comes in, buys it off the shelf and goes. We can be much more discerning about that. And the third one that I wanted, which I know Elize will love, and I did want to flag that I know when we look at this panel today, it doesn't look particularly diverse. Yes, we've got male and female, but you're not actually seeing the cultural makeup of the Smart Hub here. We are a very diverse community. It's a very welcoming and supportive community, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from, cultural background. It is a very safe place to be and to work. And as a micro business owner or as a solo entrepreneur or any of those things, if you're working on your own, somewhere like the Smart Hub is absolutely amazing, because not only do you get a space to work out of, but you don't need to feel alone, because working on your own business can be very lonely. And having that support network there that doesn't have the pressure of you being responsible for everyone who is in the space, because they're all responsible for themselves, you actually get the benefit of being with other people and yet still being able to succeed in your own way, in your own space. So that's my three.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And to all of our panelists today, thank you so much for sharing your business insight, your lessons, your secrets. Thank you so much for being part of our community. And so if you are in business or you have a business idea, please feel free to reach out to us here at the Smart Hub. Our memberships are extremely affordable. Like probably the most affordable membership we have is the virtual membership, which is $100 a year. And you get access to all of our programs and events and a heap of education and other advantages. So if you have an idea or you located somewhere in anywhere, but mostly obviously in the Rockhampton region, then please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be delighted to not only help you, but also support you on your business journey. And secondly, if you'd like to meet any of these amazing people that we spoke with today, again, just reach out and we'll definitely do an e-introduction, which we connect people all the time. And thirdly, again, panelists, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you for being part of our community, and thank you for sharing your lessons. Much appreciated. We will see you for our next HubLive in a couple of weeks, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you so much. See you later.